Budget briefing will come to order. First, acknowledgement of members and resource persons. Secretary Jesse.
Good morning, Your Honors. May we acknowledge the following members present today: Vice Chair Rufus Rodriguez, Assistant Minority Leader Iris Montes, Senior Deputy Speaker Ferdinand Hernandez, Assistant Minority Leader Shel Jokno, Deputy Majority Leader Crispin Remulla, Vice Chair Lalo Matugas, Vice Chair Jerry Boy Espina, Vice Chair Maria Crispina Talavera Lopez, Vice Chair Mike Tan, Rep. Ricardo Cruz, Representative Johnny Pimentel, Representative Salvador Plato, Representative Girly Veloso, Representative Eulogio Rodriguez, Representative Toby Tiangco. And from the Office of the Ombudsman, we have Ombudsman Jesus Crispin Remulla. Morning, sir. Deputy Ombudsman Jose Balmeo Jr., Justice, our Special Prosecutor Justice Mariflor Punsalan Castillo, Assistant Ombudsman Margaret Raisa Andaman, Assistant Ombudsman Luigi Bonoan Jr., Assistant Ombudsman Jose Dominic Labano IV, Assistant Ombudsman Eliseo Cruz. That's all, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Comsec. So, first of all, let me welcome our Honorable Ombudsman, our very own, was with us in the Congress, the House of Representatives, former Secretary of Justice, now the Ombudsman, Boying Remulla. Welcome. I would also like to welcome everyone for this briefing of the Office of the Ombudsman, headed by Ombudsman Remulla. The Office of the Ombudsman, one of the constitutional bodies established under the 1987 Constitution, has a recommended budget of 7.06 billion for fiscal year 2027. This represents an increase of approximately 10% from its current fiscal year 2026 budget of 6.42 billion and accounts for about 0.15% of the 4.6 trillion national government budget. This proposed increase will provide additional resources to strengthen the office mandate and key programs, particularly its anti-corruption investigation program, the anti-corruption enforcement program, the Ombudsman Public Assistance Program, and the Corruption Prevention Program. The Office of the Ombudsman plays a vital role in upholding accountability. I repeat again, accountability and integrity in public service through the investigation and case build-up, as well as the enforcement of administrative, civil, and criminal liability. The office contributes significantly to ensuring that they will effectively be able to, the government operates efficiently, responsibly, and in accordance with law. Given this crucial mandate, the Office of the Ombudsman rightly looks to Congress, and particularly the House of Representatives, for the necessary budgetary support to enable it to effectively discharge its constitutional functions, not only for fiscal year 2027, but also in the years ahead. At the same time, we recognize that every peso appropriated by Congress carries with it a responsibility to the Filipino people. The resources entrusted to this Office of the Ombudsman must therefore be utilized judiciously, efficiently, and with the highest standards of accountability. We trust that this office will continue to use the support provided by Congress with the same zeal and dedication in carrying out its mandate and strengthening public confidence in the Ombudsman as the watchdog, I repeat, the watchdog of government, mobilizer for accountability, official critic of wrongdoing, and dispenser of justice. Ultimately, our common objective is clear: to protect public funds, uphold integrity in government, and ensure that the public office remains a service to the Filipino people. The Filipino people deserves no less. Thank you very much. Now, we would like to ask the Office of the Ombudsman for the Ombudsman, the Honorable Jesus Crespin Boying Remulla. You may now proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, members of the House, members of the committee, and my former colleagues. And of course, present here with me is the team from the Ombudsman's Office to present our budget. And this opportunity is very important for us to be able to face the members of the House, which is in charge of the appropriations of the Philippine government. And if there's one thing that can be said about what we do or how we handle our job, at least personally on my side, I cannot wait every morning to get to the office. It's something that we love to do. We believe that serving the country is a most noble calling, and that the people deserve the best service from all of us. And to be able to help me present the budget will be Assistant Ombudsman Luigi Bonoan. Thank you. Good morning.
Assistant Ombudsman Luigi Bonoan is recognized.
Good morning, Your Honors. Today we have actually prepared PowerPoint to show the members of the committee on our achievements as well as our budgetary needs. And to delve into this more, I'd like to introduce our Director, OIC, the Head of the Financial Services of the Office of the Ombudsman, Director Christopher Lim, to present the PowerPoint. Thank you, Your Honors.
Director Christopher Lim is now recognized to present the budget of the Office of the Ombudsman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I have the honor to present to you the budget of the Office of the Ombudsman for fiscal year 2027. So, the Office of the Ombudsman shall strive to continue the faithful performance of its constitutional mandate, especially as it relates to the fight against corruption through the following measures: fact-finding and or case build-up, prosecution, administrative adjudication, graft prevention, and auxiliary public assistance services. So going now to the highlights and major thrusts of the FY 2027 budget, the recommended budget level by the Department of Budget and Management for the Office of the Ombudsman for 2027 is 7,232,000,000, including automatic appropriations in conformity with the pronouncement of the Constitution and its enabling law, RA number 6770, on fiscal autonomy, that appropriations of the Office of the Ombudsman may not be reduced below the amount appropriated from the previous years. It represents 0.1% of the National Expenditure Program of 7.2 trillion pesos. The details of the recommendation with comparative figures for 2026 current budget and 2027 DBM NEP are summarized on the screen. So for personnel services, it consists of 3,760,765,000 pesos. For maintenance and other operating expenses, it's 2,444,135,000 pesos. For capital outlay, it's 857,100,000 pesos. For automatic appropriations, 168,332,000 pesos. And OMB share in MCSF or Military Councils Fund is 2,602,000, for a total regular agency budget of 7,232,934,000. With respect to comparative data for 2026 budget and 2027 DBM net per program, including RLIP, for general administration and support consists of 4,905,983,000 pesos. It comprised of 67.83% the budget structure. For support to operation, it is 147,354,000 pesos, or 2.04%. For anti-corruption investigation program, it is 945,737,000 pesos, or 13.08%. For anti-corruption enforcement program, 721,168,000 pesos, or 9.97%. For Ombudsman Public Assistance Program, it's 290,934,000 pesos, or 4.02%. For Anti-Corruption Prevention Program, it's 211,758,000 pesos, or 2.93%. And for locally funded projects such as whistleblower account rewards, it's 10 million pesos, which is 0.14%, for a total of 100%. So the salient features of the recommendation are as follows. Requirements for the filling up of position in the amount of 1.662 billion. Allocation for pension benefits in the amount of 169,381,000 pesos. Provision for terminal leave and retirement gratuity benefits. For mandatory, it's 78,869,000, and for optional, 310,758,000 pesos, for a total of 389,627,000. The recommended maintenance and other operating expenses amounting to 2.4 billion include a provision of 51.468 million for confidential expenses in support of the Office of the Ombudsman's constitutionally mandated functions of investigation, prosecution, and graft prevention. Additional provision of 2,602,000 for training to be charged against the Ombudsman's share of the Military Camp Sales Proceeds Fund. Allocation for the agency's information, communications, technology requirements in the total amount of 497,549 million, MOE of 247 million, and CO component of 250 million to support the Office of the Ombudsman IT system and infrastructure modernization initiatives. The construction of a document storage building for Ombudsman Visayas is provided an amount of 11.5 million in view of the agency's critical mandate to investigate and prosecute cases involving graft and corruption, which requires the secure preservation, systematic organization, and timely retrieval of large volumes of case records, evidence files, and administrative documents. An amount of 95 million has been retained for the continued upgrade of depreciated office equipment, furniture, and pictures. An amount of 500 million as funding support for the purchase of OMB building under lease purchase agreement. So, moving on, other relevant information to help the committee in the deliberations of the 2027 proposed budget. So, additional confidential funds of 148,532,000 pesos. Funding requirements for the creation of the Ombudsman Marshal and additional positions to augment the general administration and support units. Motor vehicles for officials and general dispatch, and purchase of new building, office building, the amount of 6.5 billion. So we also would like to request the restatement of special provisions for 2026, which are already provided in the 2026 GAA. Number one is use of savings. the Ombudsman is authorized to use savings from the appropriations of the Office of the Ombudsman to augment actual deficiencies in any item of its appropriations for the current year, which may include the following purposes: printing and/or publications of decisions, resolutions, and training information materials, repair, maintenance, and improvement of central and regional offices, facilities, and equipment, purchase of equipment, books, journals, and periodicals, necessary expenses for the employment of temporary, contractual, and casual employees, and payment of extraordinary and miscellaneous expenses and transportation allowances and other authorized benefits of its officials and employees subject to pertinent budgeting, accounting, and auditing rules and regulations. Use of income. The Office of the Ombudsman may use the income it generates from fees and other authorized collections, subject to the pertinent section in the general provisions of this Act, for purposes as may be specifically authorized therein or by applicable provisions of law. Release of payment of retirement benefits and pensions. Appropriations authorized for the payment of retirement benefits and pensions of the Ombudsman and his or her deputies, the special prosecutor, and all qualified officials and employees of the Office of the Ombudsman with salary grade 26 to 29 under Section 2 of RA 11059 shall be released directly to the Office of the Ombudsman, subject to the computation and conditions prescribed in applicable retirement laws, rules, and regulations. Retirement of the Ombudsman, Deputy Ombudsman, or the Special Prosecutor. Service for a full term for purposes of the retirement of the Ombudsman, Deputy Ombudsman, or the Special Prosecutor under RA 11059 may be satisfied if the concerned official has rendered a continuous service in the Office of the Ombudsman of at least 2 years as Ombudsman, Deputy Ombudsman, or Special Prosecutor, and has rendered a cumulative service in the government for a total of 7 years, including the 2 years rendered continuously as Ombudsman, Deputy Ombudsman, or Special Prosecutor. In any event, an Ombudsman, Deputy Ombudsman, or Special Prosecutor who has rendered at least 7 years in government, with the last 2 years of the service having been rendered continuously in the Office of the Ombudsman, as Ombudsman, Deputy Ombudsman, or Special Prosecutor, shall likewise be entitled to retire and receive during the residue of his/her natural life the same benefits provided under RA 11059. An official or employee claiming retirement benefits under RA number 11059 may only do so once. So these provisions concerning use of savings, use of income, release of payment of retirement benefits and pension, and retirement of the Ombudsman, Deputy Ombudsman, and the Special Prosecutor are indispensable safeguards that uphold the office's constitutionally guaranteed independence and fiscal autonomy. It is earnestly hoped that the foregoing provisions will be included in the General Appropriations Bill that will be passed by the House of Representatives. So, in closing, it cannot be denied that the Philippines struggles every day with the problem of poverty and corruption. Indeed, there is a positive association between corruption and poverty. Corruption affects all of us, endangers our national life. It makes the poor poorer, reduces incidences of corruption, increases government savings that can in turn be used for poverty alleviation projects of this administration. Thus, the Office of the Ombudsman earnestly hope that the House of Representatives, in considering the Office of the Ombudsman's budget for 2027 and that of the succeeding years, would realize the crucial role it performs in the investigation and or case build-up and enforcement of administrative, civil, and criminal liability to promote efficient service by the government to the people through its proactive approaches. The Office of the Ombudsman, in return, commits that the budgetary support it needs will not be spent aimlessly, but will be utilized with the usual zeal and dedication to enhance the confidence of the general public in the OMB as their watchdog, mobilizer, official critic, and dispenser of justice, because the Filipino deserves no less. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Lim, for the Office of the Ombudsman's budget. Now, may I acknowledge before we proceed, the members who have also who are now attending this particular hearing. We have Vice Chair Lolita Javier, Representative Arlene Ayon. We have Vice Chair Maisa Sagarbaria. We have Vice Chair Bernadette Barbers. And the Deputy Majority Leader Jan Baronda, and also Vice Chair Lollipop Uwano Dizon.
Vice Chair Loreto Amante.
And Vice Chair Loreto Amante. So once again, so now let us start the discussions. And so I remind our distinguished colleagues that each member is given 5 minutes. The clock is there. 5 minutes for questioning or interpellation, excluding the response of the resource persons. And when you hear the bell sound, it means that you only have 30 seconds. That's the sound. And you have only 30 seconds to wind up with your questions. As part of a long-standing and respected tradition of the House of Representatives to accord preferential treatment to the minority members of the House, followed by the independent members, and then the majority members in an alternating manner, the chair now recognizes from the minority. I have here the list now, and from the minority, we recognize the Honorable Representative Iris Marie de Mesa Montes, to my right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Magandang umaga po sa lahat, Ombudsman Remulla, and to the Ombudsman family. Magandang araw po sa inyo. Ilang katanungan lamang po mula sa Kababaihan Kabalikatan para sa Kapakanan at Kaunlaran ng Bayan or 4K Party List. Umpisahan ko lang po muna siguro sa mga numero. Maaari ko po bang malaman ano po ang current resolution and conviction rate ng ating opisina, and how does this compare to the previous years?
A.O. Bonoan will answer the question, Your Honor.
Yes, Assistant Ombudsman Bonoan, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. As of June 30, 2026, the Ombudsman reached a conviction rate of 65.52% in the Sandigan Bayan. Now, you may ask what measures were taken by the office to improve the conviction rate in the past 5 years, and we actually have amended our rules of procedure to fast-track both the preliminary investigation as well as the fact-finding initiatives of our office.
So ibig sabihin po, sa current year po, mas mataas, no? Nag-increase po. Tama po ba?
Yes, ma'am. As 2025, ma'am, our conviction rate in the Sandigan Bayan was 42% as compared to this year's 65.52%.
Thank you. Of these cases, how many corruption cases involving high-ranking officials, perhaps from salary grade 29 and above, have been filed, resolved, and prosecuted?
Your Honor, I can answer your question by distinguishing between our conviction rate in the Sandigan Bayan, which prosecutes high-ranking government officials ranked SG 27 and above, and lower courts, which prosecute those 26 and below. So in 2025, the conviction rate for the lower courts was 77.6%, and as of June 30 this year, it is 64.91%. As compared to, as previously mentioned, 42% in 2025 and 65.52% in 2026 for the Sandigan Bayan.
Thank you. Of this also, how many have been the subject of motu proprio investigation of the Ombudsman?
Your Honor, at present, we don't have the data to distinguish between motu proprio and those that were filed with the office, but we can provide the committee with the data.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would appreciate receiving that information. Moving on po, what safeguards are in place to ensure that your office is insulated from political influence, especially in cases involving high-ranking officials?
Well, Your Honor, we really just do our job and we listen to our mandate as provided for in the Constitution, which is to prosecute and investigate cases without fear and without favor, Your Honor.
Maraming salamat po. Nakita ko po sa inyong capital outlay, you requested for an increase, but I also saw na meron kayong request for buildings and all that. Doon po ba sa capital outlay na increase ninyo, does it cover forensic digital purchase or procurement of tools? Alam naman po natin kung gaano kahalaga ito para mas maging efficient yung inyong investigation.
To my understanding, Your Honor, yes. Yes, it does. As this is one of the initiatives as of this new administration to improve our capacities with regard to digitalization.
Maraming salamat po. Tungkol naman po sa regional reach ng Office of the Ombudsman, ano po ang how will your 2027 budget ensure that may expand natin po yung ombudsman presence in the region and it becomes accessible to the region?
Your Honor, actually, we are also looking at expanding our investigations and our reach to the BARM, to the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. And also, we have also requested budgets for our different regional offices in Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, as well as our satellite offices. This budget will ensure their accessibility to the public and continuous presence.
Yeah. Do we have measurable indicators, perhaps mga numero na pwedeng magpatunay kung ilan ang nafa-file doon and gaano po ka-efficient yung ating regional offices? If you don't have the data right now, we also appreciate receiving the same from you, katulad po ng kanina. Ano po? Siguro po yung huling question ko na lang po kay Ombudsman Remulla. Kamakailan po na ipahayag po ninyo at ako'y ang ginatawang ito ay nalungkot sa inyong pahayag na tama po ba na sinabi nyo na wala na ang taong bayan ay wala nang maaasahan sa DPWH? Ano po ba ang naging basihan ng statement po ninyo tungkol dito?
Ito po yung, salamat po sa tanong na yan at maaari pong linawin ang konteksto ng aking pagsasabi niyan. Pinag-uusapan po namin ang acquisition ng building ng NBI kasi nga ako po ay dating Secretary of Justice at kabisado ko po yung mga nagiging problema sa mga pagpapagawa at pagtatalaga ng building ng gobyerno. At ang isa pong naging problema na nakita kong matindi ay yung Bureau of Immigration building. Inabot ho yan halos ng 8 bilyon at 12 taon. At hanggang ngayon lang yata natapos, yung driveway papunta po sa parking lot niya. Yung driveway po niya, hindi ho kakasya ang kakasya lang po, Wigo. Yung maliit po na sasakyan, pag may dala kayong pickup o SUV, hindi na po kakasya at hindi na ho makakaparada sa taas. Ang problema ho kasi, pag may government building na ginagawa, alam naman natin na hindi ho madali magpatayo ng building, marami pong cost overrun yan. Pero pag ito po'y tinamaan ng graft at tinamaan ng kickback mentality, talaga ho mauubos pati yung building at mauubos po yung driveway. Ganon ko kasama ang nakita kong pangyayari sa aking pong karanasan. Dito po sa gobyerno, matagal na po ako sa gobyerno. Nagsimula po ako sa gobyerno 1992. At Hindi naman ho tuloy-tuloy, pero kadalasan po niyan hanggang 2026, halos sa gobyerno po ako. Nakita ko ho lahat ng pangyayari sa paggastos po ng pera ng bayan. At ang pagpapagawa ng building, isa po sa minsan ang nakakamuhi po eh. Ang nangyayari sa atin, nakakaawa po yung ating mga, lagay natin sa paaralan pa lamang. Ang paaralan po ng mga bata, na kaunting-kaunti na ang ginawa, halos ang sama ng standard. Pero ito mga building po na talagang kinakailangan ng gobyerno, talagang pagka nagpatayo po tayo at may nakailam po sa pagpapatayo ng building, talaga pong hindi ho, naging substandard po talaga ang building. Ayun nga, example mo niyan, immigration building sa Macapagal Boulevard na dapat ho, napakaganda kung titingnan natin ang naging gastos. Halos 8 bilyon ang aking pagkakaunawa. Pero kung titingnan ko ho, at i-value nyo ngayon, sa ngayong merkado, kung magkano po yung building ngayon, baka hindi umabot ng 2 billion. Kaya, ang laki po ng sayang eh. Yun po yung probably it's a point of emphasis na kinakailangan po bantayan natin ang kaban ng bayan pagdating po sa pagpapatayo ng mga gusali.
Thank you, Ombudsman. I share your observations and frustration. So given that po, ano po ang maaaring maitulong ng Ombudsman given yung ganyang obserbasyon ninyo upang linisin natin ang ahensyang ito ng katiwalian without preempting whatever investigation you are currently doing right now kung meron po para po maging dekalidad yung ating mga infrastruktura at maibalik natin ang kumpiyansa ng taong bayan sa ahensya.
Unang-una siguro, kung talagang DPWH ang pag-uusapan, dapat ho, ginagamit natin ng RDC. Lahat po ng proyekto dapat po nakaplano. Hindi ho pwedeng, bigyan mo ko ng listahan ng gagawin mong kalye, tapos ako nang bahala. Hindi po ganun eh. Dapat ho yan nakaplano. Ang laki ng gobyerno natin, marami tayong gobyerno na gumagawa ng trabaho para planuhin na maayos ang lahat. Pero hindi ho dapat ganun na. Dapat po talaga deliberate tayo at every step of the way sa paggastos ng pera ng bayan. Yun nga yung mga naging problema natin, yung ating mga regional development plans, parang hindi ho nasunod ng bandang ho. Itong mga nakaraang taon, lahat po naging flood control budget na lang. Ang nangyari po sa budget natin, yung mga, sabihin natin, flagship project ng Pangulo, nawala, naging, ang tawag doon, unprogrammed fund na lang. Yung pong ating foreign assisted project, naging unprogrammed na lang. Kaya ang amin pong gagawin dito sa aming opisina, magtatayo ho kami ng isang committee na babantayan lamang ang budget at kung paano ho ginagastos ang pera ng bayan na pwede na rin ho maging sumbungan ng taong bayan kung meron pong pagmamalabis. So, yung pagbabantay po ng budget, isa na ho sa direct functions namin, ang tingin ko na pinakamahalaga.
Maraming salamat po, Ombudsman. I still have a little time. Let me just siguro state that ang kinatawang ito po ay kaisa ninyo sa inyong hangarin upang palakasin ang tiwala, ang tiwala ng taong bayan sa ahensya. At alam po natin, nasabi niyo po sa inyong closing statement sa presentation yung impact ng corruption. And umaasa po kami na tunay na ang opisina ng Ombudsman ay ang magiging watchdog, mobilizer, official critic, and dispenser of justice. At ako po'y naniniwala din na sa huling phrase ng inyong presentation that the Filipino people deserve no less. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Representative Iris Montes. Before we proceed to the next interpellator, may I now acknowledge the arrival of Representative Carl Legaspi. We have Representative Mark Anthony Santos. We have Assistant Minority Leader Robert Nazal and Deputy Minority Leader Antonio Tintinio. And one more. And we have Representative Franz Pomaren. Welcome. So we now go to the second interpellator. He will belong to the independent. We have minority, independent, majority. Congressman Toby Tiangco is now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, wala po akong tanong. I just want to manifest that I support the budget of the Office of the Ombudsman, especially, Mr. Chair, the amendments that they're requesting for the general provisions, no? And I'm sure you will be one with me. We've known each other very well. Because yung Office of the Ombudsman is part of the CIFAG, the Constitutional Fiscal Autonomy Group, no? So I hope that the amendments to the special provisions will also be applicable to the other members of the CIFAG. Hindi lang po doon sa Office of the Ombudsman. Sana po we make it applicable to the Office of to the Commission on Elections, to the Civil Service Commission, to the Commission on Audit, and the Commission on Human Rights. And this was my, ito po advocacy ko since 2013 eh. I was already supporting their fiscal autonomy, so I'm surprised that it's still an issue right now, no? So yun lang po. And I hope at the proper time the chairman will be the one to introduce the amendments in the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Toby Tiangco. Thank you for your full support for the budget of the Ombudsman, and of course also the special provisions. The other commissions are also having that already, the COMELEC and the others, Civil Service and COA. But the focus now is the Ombudsman. We agree with you and we support you in the special provisions for the Ombudsman. So that is the stand of the chair. We have to get the approval of everyone here, but thank you for your proposal.
Yes, yung dun sa savings, use of income, retirement benefits, and sana isama na rin po natin yung validity of appropriations.
We will have that language recommended to the plenary. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Toby Tiangco. Now we go to the majority, and we have the representative from Baguio, the Honorable Representative Maurice Dumogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Apo Ombudsman, and the members of the family of the Ombudsman. First, I join, of course, Congressman Tiangco and the others fully supporting, including the proposed amendments of the budget of the Ombudsman. We have some few questions. During the hearing on the Committee on Justice on the Impeachment, witness Ramil Madriaga came out with two names. One of them happens to be with the Ombudsman. May we know what happened to that?
Remulla, please respond to the query of Congressman Dumogan.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. The Internal Affairs Bureau of the Ombudsman is now on the case of Mr. Madriaga, of what was mentioned by Mr. Madriaga, and that we already had a show cause order issued to the person referred to by Mr. Madriaga, and he has already answered, so the IAB is now pursuing, the Internal Affairs Bureau is pursuing the case to its proper logical conclusion. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you,
Representative
Ombudsman.
Dumogan.
Thank you, Chairman. Next, from your records, how many had been received by your office complaints involving conflict interest of incumbent officials of government, particularly congressmen and senators? Do you have records?
Your Honor, there aren't many complaints when it comes to conflict of interest. It is something motu proprio that we start the investigations of the conflict of interest. Probably one reason is because I was a member of this House for 4 terms, and actually I was elected to 5 terms. And I was very aware of the conflict of interest emanating at that time. But as a member of the House, we know the culture here is that, well, if I may be a little more informal in my words, walang basagan ng trip. But, Your Honor, I have been given a constitutional duty to check on conflicts of interest and graft and corruption. That's why I think that that knowledge came to me very handily. And that's where the motu proprio started. But there are other people who give us information that do not necessarily file complaints, but we use this to start investigations, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Dumogan and our Ombudsman, Boying Remulla. We go now back to...
I am not yet finished.
Not yet finished. Please proceed. You still have 3 minutes and 32 seconds. I thought you're finished. I'm sorry.
No problem, Mr. Chairman. Now, talking of these problems of corruption, which is appearing to be number 1 in our country today, relative specifically to government projects, I noticed that the requirement of pre-audit had been removed. Think that was in 2011. That was in 2011. Because when pre-audit was being followed, well, my seatmate here, who happens to be the regional director of the Cordilleras, when we rehabilitated the city of Baguio from the ruins of the killer earthquake of 1990, wala namang red flag eh. Kasi kailangan yung pre-audit. Now, may we get your view? Do you support us with the bill that we make as mandatory for payment of government projects, pre-audit coupled with geomapping of the said project? So that, klaro, na nandyan. Siguro, kung may lulusot pa na ghost project, hindi ko na alam kung meron pa. Kung pre-audit complemented by geomapping.
It would be a big help, Your Honor. However, that's already the province of the COA. And I believe that probably COA should be able to address that issue. And maybe they will best need more personnel because they're always the limitation of COA, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I've heard, is that they lack the people. Maybe they need a bigger complement of people to do the job, Your Honor.
Thank you, Apo Ombudsman. We brought this with COA, and they fully support it. Only they want additional personnel. Tama yung po yung sabi mo. So, we hope that the bill that we did file should be passed because I am confident that this can be a good weapon against these ghost projects happening in our country today. Next, the complaints that had been filed with your good office, Ombudsman, how long it will take? Because usually there's a period for the conduct of the preliminary investigation, everything. How long it will take to be processed?
Sir, the first stage that we undertake here is fact-finding. And how many days of fact-finding? Which is 30 days for non-complex cases and 60 days for more complex cases. And then we have preliminary investigation, which is another 30 to 60 days, Your Honor. 60 days maximum. So right now, we already put in tighter deadlines to do our work. And we just hired 60 more lawyers, Your Honor. This year, we've hired 60 lawyers, and we will be hiring 40 more for the year, for a total of 100 lawyers, to help us meet that kind of deadline because it can be very stringent on those conducting the investigations, Your Honor.
Thank you, Apo Ombudsman. Well, I brought this out because I know of some cases which are still pending there that had been filed sometimes ago. Anyway, we totally support, as we said, your budget, including the proposed amendment. So, we commend the tenacity of our present congressman to really go after those involved in anomalies within your jurisdiction. Thank you, Apo Ombudsman and the family. Thank you, Apo Chairman.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Congressman Dumogan. Next in the list. Before that, let me just recognize Congressman Egay Erice. Thank you for coming. Who else? Mambago lang. Okay na. So we will now go to the next interpellator. We have, from the minority, Representative Chel Diokno.
Thank you, Chair Rufus. Magandang umaga po, Ombudsman Remulla at sa lahat ng taga-Ombudsman. At sa mga kasamahan din po natin. I totally agree with your statement earlier that the people deserve the best, especially when it comes to anti-corruption. And I know that the Office of the Ombudsman is just one of several agencies that is really dapat nakatutok pagdating sa isyong ito. I'd like to share something with the Ombudsman that perhaps you're not aware of. About 20 years ago, I was provided with a copy of a study that was submitted to your office, which showed that out of 110 persons convicted of graft and corruption offenses, sa 10 lang po ang actually nakakulong. These refer to convictions already by final judgment. And one of the recommendations of that study, I can provide you with a copy, I still have a copy, sir, is that the government create a centralized system for ensuring that those convicted, especially those who appeal their convictions, actually serve their sentences. As I understand it, as of now, there is no such system in place. What may I know your stand, Ombudsman Remulla, on this, and what can we do to move forward with this proposal that has already been on the table for more than 20 years?
Your Honor, our legal system is one which is not very clear when it comes to people who have been sentenced by the anti-graft court or by any lower court. Usually, people are still allowed to post bail after they've been sentenced. But I think this has to be redefined in our times. We have to make people face the music that once convicted, you serve sentence immediately, and only the appeal can stop the service of your sentence. Let's say one is sentenced by a regional trial court for homicide, which is a bailable offense. The presumption is the court already did the right thing. But because we allow them to post bail after conviction in the appellate process, there is no time determined. There's no time for this to mature into something that has to be served by the person sentenced. So the appellate process is very defective, Your Honor. There's no timetable for the appellate process. You go to the Court of Appeals, and then the Supreme Court, then we don't know what will happen. So, are we going to allow people to post bail after they've been convicted, or are we going to let them serve their sentence? I think that's the critical thing, that's the elephant in the room that we have to ask the Supreme Court about, because it's wasting our government resources if we do not actually implement these decisions immediately. So the immediate implementation of decisions, I think, is one of the best ways to make sure that people will not do the offense again. Because unless they serve sentence and they are put behind bars immediately, people will forget that they had been convicted after a while. So it's something that we have to face as a country. Maybe we have to ask the Supreme Court the same question, Your Honor.
Tama po kayo, Ombudsman. And I totally...
Chair, I'll just like to also remind the Ombudsman that the presumption of innocence is in the Constitution. Even the Supreme Court will not be able to decree that upon conviction in the RTC, you go to jail. Our Constitution mentions about final judgment. So we have the right to appeal, and the worst, criminal who has been convicted has the author- he or she has the opportunity to always question the conviction because of the presumption of innocence. So we ask our dear ombudsman to comment on that, because the proposal for them to go directly to jail precisely contradicts the constitutional presumption of innocence.
Your Honor, it is a presumption of innocence is very important. I agree with you. But that when a person is convicted, we have already the court has already given its judgment as to the guilt or innocence of the accused. It's not even a disputable presumption. It's something that has to be put into the hands of the court. But that presumption disappears. The presumption of innocence disappears once a court armed with jurisdiction sentences a person to jail. That's what I believe, Your Honor. It becomes, it's not even a disputable presumption. The presumption of innocence is already overturned by a conviction, Your Honor.
We have a difference of opinion, but yes, Congressman Chiel, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question really was not directed at the issue of bail, although I do agree that the Supreme Court should revisit issues about bail pending appeal. Ang tanong ko po ay ganito, assuming meron na convict ng Sandigan Bayan, pinrosecute ng ombudsman, you spend millions of pesos taking that prosecution to conviction. The accused now makes an appeal. The appeal can last anywhere from a few years to many, many years. Pag bumaba yung appeal na affirm ang conviction, many things can happen before that person is actually apprehended and put to jail to serve his sentence. Ang tanong ko po ay, apparently, there is no centralized system that our government has to track that, so that maraming nakakalusot na sayang lang ang ginawa natin pag-prosecute, na-convict, hindi naman pala nakulong. Now, does that bother the Office of the Ombudsman? Have you undertaken any efforts to create that system? Because this has to go beyond your office. Kailangan po magkakasama po dyan ang Department of Justice, ang Bucor, and other agencies so that we have that system to track. May I have your views on that, Ombudsman Remulla?
I agree wholeheartedly, Your Honor, that we need to track all of these convictions. In fact, in our budget presentation, we asked for funding for the creation of the Office of the Ombudsman Marshal, which will be given that responsibility to track the status of all the persons in jail or sentenced to jail or accused, so that we will have a complete inventory of the people who are being charged in the court, in our legal system, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ombudsman. I think that is especially important now that you have about 200 flood control cases that you're probing and at least 4 already in court. Mahirap po naman kung aabot tayo sa punto na later on, although you vigorously prosecuted and secured convictions, hindi rin naman pala makukulong yung mga dapat nakulong. Because the people have really been calling for accountability, and I think that's a very important aspect of it. Now, my next question, sir, would pertain to witness protection. Alam po natin na ang meron lang witness protection provided by law ang Department of Justice. I was looking over the materials provided by your office. I did not see any suggestion or proposal for that kind of program. May I have your views on that, sir?
That's also, Your Honor, thank you for the question, because that's also one of the functions of the Ombudsman Marshal that we are creating this year, because there has to be a special body undertaking all of this. Even the service of subpoenas and other functions have to be done by our own people, and we do not. We can always delegate it to the police, Your Honor, but we feel it. We feel that we can be more effective if we have our own marshals to do it, Your Honor.
Thank you, and I'm very curious. I'd like to know more about that marshals concept, kasi baka po makatulong din tayo dyan.
Yes, Your Honor, the Supreme Court adopted its own marshals already, and I think that's where it's not our original idea. I think we're following it from the Supreme Court, Your Honor.
May tanong din po ako, Chair, kay Ombudsman, kay Attorney Bonoan. Earlier, you mentioned conviction rates of 65%. I'm very happy to hear that the Ombudsman is using conviction rates because yesterday, when the DOJ appeared before us, ang sabi nila, ang ginagamit nila ay PSR, prosecutorial success rate, at hindi conviction. But I don't think PSR really covers the data that we need to know, especially in terms of performance of the prosecution. Ang tanong ko po ay, would you agree that there should be a government-wide gauge? Kung halimbawa ang ginagamit ninyo ay conviction rate, shouldn't that be the same gauge that other prosecutorial agencies use?
Your Honor, thank you for that question. Yes, sir. We definitely agree with you that a singular statistic government-wide for prosecutions would be beneficial. Yes, sir.
Thank you for that, because I think that that has to be uniform if we want to make sure that we are doing our job. Just one last question for Ombudsman Remulla. Noong August 27, 2025, nabanggit ni Pangulo na dapat ibalik yung practice of conducting lifestyle checks. May I know what progress the Ombudsman has made in reviving this very important procedure? Thank you, sir.
We're doing this right now, Your Honor. We have 107 lifestyle checks being conducted as we speak. And we are adding more to the list because we have been actively pursuing information on the people in commission on customs, in LTO, and other income-generating agencies of the government, because this is where most of the lifestyle sins happen, including the BIR, Your Honor.
Thank you for that, Mr. Chair. I have no more questions. Just a final comment that I'm very happy to hear that you have been conducting lifestyle checks kasi malamang kung nasagawa po sana natin yan noon, yung nangyari halimbawa kay Yusek Bernardo who had to return 500 million, I'm sure a lifestyle check would have already shown us that there are issues insofar as his governance are concerned. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Chel Diokno. Let me just state that this representation supports the marshals to be created for the Ombudsman. First, to protect the Ombudsman. Secondly, for the processes to be given fast. And third, to make sure that those convicted by final judgment are also put to jail. Because after all, these are cases coming from the Ombudsman. So we have a conference with our Assistant Ombudsman, Luigi here, and I was the author of the the creation of marshals in the Supreme Court. So we are ready to be able to heed your call, to be able to support that. And I hope other members will support. We have to give the Ombudsman the marshals that are needed. Thank you. So next in the list will now come from the majority. So I call on Maria Isabel Maisa Sagarbaria. Ikaw na karon musulti, Maisa.
Daghang salamat, Mr. Chair. Anyway, maayong hapon sa tanan. Actually, Mr. Chair, this is not an interpolation, but rather a message of support to the Ombudsman family. I would like to express my support for the proposed budget of the Office of the Ombudsman. We recognize its vital role in promoting accountability, transparency, and good governance. We value the integrity and independence which the office carries out its constitutional mandate. As Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Appropriations, I believe that providing adequate resources to the Ombudsman is an investment in strengthening our institutions and restoring public trust. We fully support a budget that will enable the office to continue upholding integrity and ensuring accountability in public service. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Kanalan.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. That is expression of support. Let us give a hand to Maisa Sagarbaria. Mahal kayo ito yung gisulti. Thank you. So next we will go to the next interpellator, and we certainly would like to have from the minority our assistant, our deputy minority leader, Antonio Tino. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, napakahalaga po ng Office of the Ombudsman, lalo pa at of course, hinaharap pa rin ng bansa ang isa sa mga pinakamalaking corruption scandal sa kasaysayan. Of course, ang tinutukoy ko yung flood control. No? At ngayon, ang Office of the Ombudsman na lang ang tanging opisina na nagtutuloy pa ng investigasyon at pagkaso sa mga sangkot. Yung House matagal nang hindi nag-investigate, yung Blue Ribbon Committee tumigil na, yung ICI is defunct. So, ombudsman na lang talaga. Okay, at kayo ang inaasahan ngayon na mag-deliver dun sa panawagan na lahat ng sangkot dapat managot. At essential dun sa slogan na yon, popular slogan na yon, yung kailangan maging fair. Ibig sabihin, patas, walang kinikilingan, lahat ng sangkot dapat managot. Ngayon, ang tanong po natin ay kumusta po ang investigasyon, partikular kaugnay sa involvement ng mga officials ng Malacanang mismo, no? Kaugnay na na-involve sa flood control, or at least na merong mga statement at testimonya na nagsasabing involved sila. No? So I am talking about the statement, the public statements made by Zaldico, for one, and also Yusek Bernardo of DPWH as relayed by Senator Ping Lacson in the official records of the Senate. No? So, of course, yung video testimony ni Zaldico, malamang napanood ng marami yan. Binanggit niya na ilang opisyal ang binanggit niya. No? DBM Secretary Pangandaman, Executive Secretary Bersamin, Undersecretary Adrian Bersamin, Yusek Jojo Cadiz, among others, na inutos daw ng presidente na maglagay ng 100 billion peso insertion sa 2025 budget. Tapos si Yusek Bernardo naman, as relayed by Senator Ping Lacson, and this is in the records of the Senate, sabi niya, Yusek Bernardo corroborated yung sinabi ni Zaldico. Sabi niya, sa 100 billion na yan, 51 billion, ako ang trumabaho. At allegedly, sabi rin ni Yusek Bernardo, nakipagsabuatan siya with Yusek Olaivar of DepEd to deliver a total of 8 billion in kickbacks to the President, including 2 billion delivered through an exchange of armored cars at Diamond Hotel in March of 2025. Very detailed. Okay. So, ang tanong po ay, bakit hanggang ngayon ay wala pang anumang investigasyon na isinasagawa sa lahat ng mga opisyal, ng dating opisyal ng kabinete na binanggit? No, yun po ang importanteng tanong natin dito. Bakit hanggang ngayon ay wala pang tayong naririnig na anumang investigasyon? Let me mention that on March 30, meron pong private individuals led by David Michael San Juan, former Representative Franz Castro, among others, who filed a letter or a complaint to the Ombudsman para imbestigahan ng mga ito. to the Ombudsman, please.
Ombudsman Rimulya to respond.
Wala ho siguro naririnig sapagkat hindi ho namin trabahong ipabalita yung aming pinakukulo pa. Kasi nga, hindi ho madaling magbuo ng kaso. Ang pagbubuo ng kaso ay base sa ebidensya. At hindi ho natin maaaring ipamalita sa tao ang bawat kilos na ginagawa namin. Yun lang po, sana humihingi lang kami ng kaunting pag-unawa sapagkat kung ilantad po namin lahat ng aming ginagawa, di alam na ho ng aming mga sinusundan ang aming ginagawa. Dapat ho kasi may panahon na tahimik po tayo sa kaso. Pero wala ho kami pinababayaan. Sasabi ko sa inyo yan. Wala ho kaming pinalulusot dito. Ito po ay lahat ay base sa ebidensya. Kagalang-galang.
Okay. So, naintindihan ko po ang sinasabi nyo na hindi nyo binubulgar sa publiko ang inyong ginagawa at maaring may mga isinasagawa kayong investigasyon.
Binubuo pa ho namin ng yung mga ganyang kaso po kasi. Kailangan mabuo ho na maayos yan. Mula ho sa kwento ni Bernardo at sa kwento na lumalabas sa media, para ho malagyan natin ng ebidensya, mas mabigat po ang trabaho yun. Kaya yung ebidensya po ang hinahanap namin. Pero yan po, tinitingnan ho namin ang budget, tinitingnan namin yung mga numero, at kung nagkataon po na meron talagang pagkatama sa mga halagang binibigay, yun po yung aming sinusundan. Sinusundan po namin yan.
Okay.
Sinusubaybayan.
At may assurance kayo na kahit involved dito ang secretaries ng kabinete ng Malacanang at kahit ang Pangulo mismo, kahit tumunod sa Pangulo, ay kasama yan sa iimbestigahan nyo. Tama po ba?
Po, lahat po yan ay base sa ebidensya. Wala ho tayong sisinuhin dito.
Okay, thank you. At pangalawang tanong na lang, Mr. Chair, to wind up.
Please proceed.
Okay, thank you po. Kaugnay naman po sa ano naman po ang ginagawa, ang flood control corruption ay hindi naman po nagsimula sa kasalukuyang administrasyon. Bagaman talagang pambihira ang naging paglaki at paglaganap nito. Pero as early as 2018, natatandaan ko, sa Kongreso din mismo na ito ay unang nilantad yung modus ng mga insertion at ghost projects and so on. No? Meron po bang ginagawa ang ombudsman sa pag-imbestiga sa mga flood control corruption issues sa panahon pa ng nakaraang administrasyon?
Opo, at hindi lang ho madali talaga sapagkat sabihin natin, ang epicenter po ng flood control bago ho dumating ang Marcos administration ay Davao City.
Okay.
Ang ecosystem of corruption po mabigat. Mahirap pong pasukin. Mahirap pong kumuha ng impormasyon. Marami hong taong hindi nagsasalita. Pero hindi ho kami tumitigil. Davao po yung ecosystem na aming tinutukoy. At kasi doon ho maraming pondo na pumasok daw sa flood control. Yan po yung aming kinakalap ng gusto. At meron pa ho mga lalawigan na aming tinitingnan sa panahong yon upang makita yung pattern kung saan po nagsisimula yung mga pattern, Your Honor.
Okay, so okay, malinaw po ang sinabi, no? Epicenter of corruption.
Control, Your Honor. Flood control
Flood
projects,
control
Your Honor.
corruption ang Davao City nung panahon ng nakaraang administrasyon.
Opo, but I will not draw that conclusion immediately.
Okay.
Ito po yung pinag-aaralan namin kasi ang mahalaga po, makita namin ang ebidensya sa ground, Your Honor.
Okay. In that regard, meron pong
Please wind up. Your time is up, but
me-
you can list for the second round.
yes, opo.
There are already
So,
those who have listed in the second round.
To wind up po,
Yes.
paalala ko lang po sa Ombudsman na meron po tayong final din na information, sinabit na information sa Ombudsman regarding precisely mga flood control anomalies. May mga question, no? Wala pa pong conclusion doon. Batay sa pagsusuri natin sa mga numero, sa budget, pagkumpara ng budget, appropriations at saka yung mga kontrata at yung mga actual projects delivered, no? So sana po makatulong din sa inyong investigasyon. Hanggang doon na lamang po.
Salamat po. Salamat po.
Okay, thank you po.
Thank you, Representative Tinio. Thank you, Ombudsman Remulla. The next in the list will come from the majority. We have Representative Salvador Plato. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sa ating mga dear colleagues and esteemed guests, pangunguna ni Ombudsman Boying Remulla at saka Ombudsman Family, magandang umaga po, hapon na po sa inyo lahat. Mr. Chair, may I respectfully manifest that this representation fully supports the approval of the proposed 2027 budget of the Office of the Ombudsman. Siguro po, dagdagan natin ang budget for personnel services para sa karagdagan number of personnel. Mr. Chair, it appears that the total number of authorized positions for the Office of the Ombudsman is only 2,439 for the year 2025, 2026, and 2027, which remains the same. Considering the enormous lineup of programs, activities, and projects under your operations, sa dami ng kanilang ginagawa po, siguro po dapat lamang po nadagdagan po natin ang number ng authorized personnel positions corresponding budget for personnel services. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So we get the response. Aside from the proposal for personal services, what else would you need, Ombudsman Remulla?
Actually, hindi pa ho namin napupuno yung number na yung plantilla na approve po ng DBM. Kasi marami hong proseso bago tayo makahire ng tao. Marami hong patakaran na kailangan sundin. Yung mga taong sinimula namin recruitin nung December, marami ho dyan, itong linggo lang namin na-hire. Kasi dadaan po sa civil service, marami hong pinagdadaanan na proseso. Pero, sabi ko nga, it took us more 10.5 months to hire 60 lawyers. Hindi ho madali, kaya lang ginagawa ho namin unti-unti. Kung luluwag po yung standard, na luluwag po yung proseso, mas mabilis namin mapupunuan yan. Ngunit, hindi naman kami nagre-reklamo, alam namin nakasama po ito sa buhay natin sa gobyerno. Kasi yung mga personnel board, marami hong nagmi-meeting muna bago po aproban yung mga taong nag-a-apply.
Thank you very much, Ombudsman Remulla. Now, we'd just like to acknowledge additional members who are now present in this briefing. We have the Honorable Nico Dasa. Vice Chair. Vice Chair Nico, please be recognized. Where are you? There, Nico. And then we have Representative Julius, to my right, Julius Cesar Vergara. So we proceed with the next interpellator, and we have now from the majority, Representative Gurley Veloso.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maayong udto sa tanan. Another Bisaya here. No further questions, Mr. Chair. Malasakit at Bayanihan Party List would just like to manifest our support to the proposed fiscal year 2027 budget of the Office of the Ombudsman. At a time when public confidence in our institutions remains critical, we need an ombudsman that is independent, adequately supported, and capable of delivering accountability in a timely and credible manner. Mahalaga po na maramdaman ng ating mga kababayan na may institusyong tunay na nagbabantay sa pananagutan sa pamahalaan. At ang hostisya at accountability ay hindi lamang ipinapangako kundi naipapakita sa maayos at napapanahong pagkilos. We therefore support the resources necessary for the office to perform its constitutional mandate effectively and to continue strengthening public trust in our institutions. Maayong udto again. Daghang salamat.
Daghang salamat, Congresswoman Gurley Veloso. for your expression of support to the budget of the Ombudsman. Now, we are now going to the second round. Are there any more who wish to interpolate before we go to the second round? Hearing none, so we go to the second round. The Honorable Ombudsman, we have Representative Chel Diokno.
Thank you, Chair Rufus. Balik po tayo sa tanungan na Ombudsman Remulla. I came across a report recently of the performance of
We
your
suspend the proceedings to recognize and to take her proper seat. The chairperson of the Committee on Appropriation is present, the Honorable Mika Swansing. Palakpakan natin. Please proceed. Now, Congressman Diokno.
Thank you and good morning, Chair Mika. Baka po meron kayong gustong sabihin muna? Thank you, thank you. Based on a report I came across, in 2025, your office completed 1,129 out of 2,051 fact-finding investigations. It's roughly 55%. And of that, 317 resulted in the filing of criminal or admin cases. May I know how we can help you? Saan po ba ang problema? How can we make this process easier for the Ombudsman para mas marami naman ang makompletuhin ninyong mga fact-finding? Yes, sir.
Actually, cooperation po ng agencies. Pero ngayon po, talagang ini-issuean na namin sa PINA. Probably yung isang batas na kinakailangan namin, yung contempt powers na ibibigay po sa Office of the Ombudsman. Kasi parang wala hong ngipin kung hindi ho tayo bibigyan ng contempt powers. Kasi marami pa rin matigas ang ulo pagdating po sa cooperation po sa Office of the Ombudsman.
How about the personnel, Ombudsman Remulla? Do you have issues with respect to the fact-finding personnel, investigators? Kailangan po ba niya ng dagdag na tao?
Number of them, nag-hire pa ho kami ng marami, pero yung training po tsaka equipment namin sa digital forensics, yun po yung kinakailangan palakasin namin. Although may programa na ho kami para dyan.
I hope that is also part of your proposal for this budget cycle.
Kasama po sa proposal namin.
Susuportahan po natin yan.
Salamat po.
Doon po sa issue ng forfeiture cases, may I have the data how many have been filed this year? This is 2026, last year 2025, and 2024?
Sa forfeiture cases po, pinakamarami po na-file dito sa numero 2022, 64 forfeiture cases. Sa 2025 po, 12 pa lang ho ang final, 18 po sa 2024, at 32 po sa 2023. At itong 2026, 10 pa lang po yung aming fina-file. Pero marami ho kaming susunod dito na filing sa forfeiture po.
Sana po, dumami pa po yan. Could we request, Mr. Chair or Madam Chair, the data from the Office of the Ombudsman, especially with respect to flood control projects? Ilan po ba doon, unless you have the data available now, ilan po ba out of the 10 that were filed this year and the 12 last year, how many of those were related to flood control?
Sa forfeiture pa ho ito o sa
Forfeiture
flood
po.
control lang?
Or
Flood
forfeiture.
control. Hindi pa ho kompleto ang data namin, pero bibigyan namin sa inyo po.
Yes, I think the committee would be well apprised if malaman po natin yan. One final question, if I may, Mr.
Please
Chair.
proceed,
With
Congressman.
respect to lifestyle checks, kasama po ba ang pagtingin ninyo o pag-monitor ng social media accounts ng government official at yung kanyang pamilya? Kasi doon minsan...
Kasama na po yan.
nakikita-
Kasama po ang social media.
Thank you. I'm very happy to hear that. Finally, just one last question. With respect, if I recall po yung statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth, at the bandang dulo ng form, meron siyang waiver that is executed by every official in favor of the Office of the Ombudsman. that allows you to look into records of the BIR and other government agencies. Could you give the committee an idea of how often and how much of your work involves using those waivers to conduct your investigations?
Dahil po sa waiver na yan, dapat po ang BIR nagko-cooperate sa amin. Pero syempre, yung cooperation ng BIR medyo mabagal po. Isa po yan sa problema namin, sa sakit ng ulo namin.
We will take note of that. Perhaps there is something we can do to
Salamat po.
help you with that. May tanong ko na rin po. I have been calling publicly that the Supreme Court impose a strict deadline for corruption cases na para sa akin kasi unconscionable na aabot hanggang 10 o 20 o 30 taon bago matapos ang isang corruption case. When the Sandigan Bayan appeared as part of the judiciary in the last budget cycle, ang sabi po nila ay meron pa silang cases na nagmula pa noong 1987 na hanggang ngayon ay nandun pa rin. Now, may I hear from the Office of the Ombudsman, from Ombudsman Remulla, what do you think is the best solution to ensuring that corruption cases are given top priority by the justice system na hindi na dapat lalampas sa 5 taon yung buong paglilitis ng corruption case?
Ang una po kasi, ang ginagawa po namin ngayon kasi, nagki-case build up po kami. Tinaas po namin yung antas ng standard namin mula po sa probable cause papuntang reasonable certainty of conviction. Ang teorya po dyan, pagka nakalap namin ng ebidensya at na-file po namin sa korte, ready na po kaming ilatag lahat ng aming ebidensya so we can rest our case immediately. Kaya siguro, masanay po tayo ang ating judicial system sa continuous trial. Kasi yan po ang solusyon dyan eh. Para wala na hong inordinate delay of justice, para wala na ho tayong 40-year wait, mas maganda ho kung maging mandatory yung continuous trial pagdating sa graft cases para ho mailatag lahat ng ebidensya at ma-rest namin ang case namin as early as possible. Ang problema kasi dyan, meron hong mga kaso na alam ko may mga pending pa ngayon, nagre-present kami ng evidence pero 15 years old na yung kaso. Meron pa ho kami PDAF cases na iniintay yung resulta hanggang sa ngayon. Kaya ang pagkahinog po ng kaso, marahil, pero ito po paulit-ulit ko na po kinausap ang ilang miyembro ng Supreme Court na bigyan po ng atensyon yung mga kaso sa Sandigan Bayan. Dapat ho mapansin talaga. Sapagkat hindi ho ito pwede maging laruan ng abogado. Ayun ang nangyayari kasi yung pinakamagagaling na abogado pupunta sa Sandigan Bayan kasi sila ay maraming paraan. Pero dapat ho dito talaga matapos at matapos lahat ng paglatag ng ebidensya para wala na hong nakakalikot na record ng gobyerno.
Maraming salamat po, Ombudsman Remulla. Ipapaabot din po namin sa judiciary ang inyong mga hinangin at saloobin. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Chel Diokno. Thank you, Ombudsman Remulla. Before we proceed, I'd like to acknowledge Representative Don Carlos Loria. Thank you for coming. Now it is my honor as Vice Chairman to now yield the floor and the gavel to the Honorable, no less than the Chairperson herself of the Committee on Appropriations. We have here Chairman Mika Swansing. Ikaw, Chairperson.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vice Chair Rufus Rodriguez. Ombudsman, I left you in very safe hands with Representative Rufus Rodriguez, of course, one of our legal luminaries here in Congress to defend the budget of the Ombudsman. So, alam ko po, kayang-kaya po yan ni Chair Rufus. I just have a few questions po from a budgetary standpoint. As you know po, we're always in support of the Office of the Ombudsman. Last year, we helped to work out the rental situation with the building, and then with all the satellite offices, we also supplied the necessary equipment and the additional manpower to be able to augment the resources needed to facilitate those. So this year po ulit, Ombudsman, I wanted to ask the same question to the Office of the Ombudsman. I saw on your slides the list of requested additional funding. So may we request lang po, Ombudsman, if we may request it in writing lang po, because we would have to submit it for the deliberation of the Budget Amendments Review Subcommittee, which is one of our main reforms since last year, the Committee on Appropriations, wherein we make sure all the institutional amendments requested to the Committee on Appropriations are deliberated on openly, to be shown to the public. I saw here po additional confidential funds, the Ombudsman Marshal positions, the motor vehicles, and the purchase of the new office building. And we wanted to make sure po, given the very important mandate that the Office of the Ombudsman has, we want to make sure that we give you the resources po to be able to perform all of the very important work that you are doing. So, yun lang po, Ombudsman will request na lang po when you submit the letter. Is it okay po if we request for a prioritization? Para po we would also know if we're able to find the additional fiscal space po, which ones we would prioritize first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will comply, Your Honor. We will comply as soon as possible.
Thank you very much po. And then, with regard to the requested special provision, ano naman po, we're always in support of that. It was there in the 2026 GAA as well, in terms of the requested special provision. So, we'll coordinate na lang po as we fine-tune the age gap for 2027, that the proper wording po, the necessary wording is reflected as such in the age gap. So yun lang naman po. I don't have questions naman po, Vice Chair Rufus. It's really more of I wanted to make sure po to give the assurance to the Office of the Ombudsman, to Ombudsman Boying, that we are very much in support of the budget of the Office of the Ombudsman, and we are very much appreciative, and we commend the hard work and all the good work that the Office of the Ombudsman is doing for our country. So to show our appreciation po, what the best that we could do is to be able to make sure to give you the resources that you need to perform your mandate better. So we'll coordinate na lang po, Ombudsman, with regard to the list of requested amendments, so that if possible po, as soon as possible, given that we are convening the Bar C in a week or so, para po maipasok po natin sa deliberations. Thank you very much po.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for that. Joknok would like to be recognized. Yes.
May isa lang pong pahabol, if I may, Madam Chair, to the Office to Ombudsman Remulla. I understand that part of the function of the Office of the Ombudsman is also to monitor impeachment proceedings in case there are any investigations or prosecutions that should come after pag may lumitaw na mga ebidensya. I also would like to say that earlier I saw your budget proposal for confidential funds, which is only at the amount of 55 million or more or less in that area. But sa palagay ko, kayo yung nangangailangan ng mas malalaking confidential funds kaysa sa yung mga ibang mga ahensya na tinututukan natin dun sa kaso ng impeachment. Now, my question is, may I know if your office is presently monitoring the status of the testimonies and evidence being presented, especially with respect to the confidential funds, for possible violations that may be investigated after?
It is being monitored by our office, Your Honor. There's an active unit monitoring the goings on of the impeachment, Your Honor.
Thank you so much for that, because we do have some concerns about accountability. That's precisely why we have the impeachment process. Maraming salamat po, Chair, and maraming salamat, Ombudsman.
Thank you very much. May I now reassume as Vice Chair? because there are no more interpellators. And so therefore, this chair, this vice chair, now is ready to accept a motion to terminate.
Mr. Chair, may I move that we terminate the budget briefing of the Office of the Ombudsman? I so move.
Is there any second the motion? Move and severally seconded. We now terminate. Congratulate Ombudsman Remulla, and we thank you for coming and presenting your budget. And so we thank also our members for your active participation. The briefing is now terminated.
Thank you.
The committee proceedings, just announcement, the committee proceedings are hereby suspended and will resume at 3 p.m. for the Commission on Audit budget briefing. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. We're very allowed.